Hello and welcome to the latest This is the Music Meets podcast. Today I'm joined by Welsh band Columbia, who are one of the most exciting bands to come out of Wales, probably since the Stereophonics. They've just released their new single, Glory People, to widespread critical and fan acclaim. Guys, thanks very much for coming on today. How are the three of you all doing?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Not too bad.
cheers.
Lovely. So to kick things off, can you just tell the listeners where in the world you're recording this with us today?
Craig's living room.
Yeah, so in Cardiff Bay, it's top flat, loads of Christmas lights.
Can't miss it by the sounds of it.
No, it's
definitely
lit up like a Christmas tree.
So just before we do carry on with a bit more of the interview, can you just run through who you all are and what you each do in the band?
Yeah, so I'm Craig. I'm the singer and rhythm guitarist.
I'm Chris. I play the drums.
I'm Aaron. I play the bass and do backing vocals.
Lovely. So obviously, as you guys know, here at This Is The Music, we sort of champion new music. So are you guys listening to any new music yourselves, or are you just into the, sort of the old sort of like classic sort of rock and roll stuff?
Yeah, mainly classic stuff, all the way back to Britpop. Aaron likes his punk stuff and like a bit of grunge and a bit of everything. I did hear a good band the other day from Manchester called Flex Palace. I thought they were really good. Yeah, a bit of a different vibe going on, but I really enjoyed some of this stuff.
There's a band I'm listening to as well from Hastings called Kid Capitu. They're starting to do really well for themselves. They're a pretty good band, similar to our style.
Yeah, definitely. And Craig, how about you?
Yeah, I think just the usual stuff. There's a band that disbanded a few years ago called Exit Calm. I'm still into them in a big way. They only released 2 albums, but they are probably the last band that probably had a big influence on me.
Yeah, sure. So so before we talk about Glory People, so your brand new single which came out last week, can you just tell us, where did the inspiration for the band's name come from?
Yeah, so as you can probably guess, it's from Oasis and from the Oasis song Columbia.
They're not a bad band, are they?
Yeah, not too bad.
So obviously, as we've just said, Glory People has just been released. It's a belter of a song, featuring thunderous drumming, great bass line, and obviously Craig's brilliant vocal, powerful vocal. So I'm guessing you must be all three of you, well, and Ben as well, obviously, you must be pretty happy with the reaction that you've received to it so far.
Yeah, definitely. Like all the reviews you've had have been really positive. We've got on your radio's play on Away Days Radio. We've been on a couple of radio stations, throughout the UK and in Australia as well, with our promotion and management company are based. So, overall the feedback has been superb, and we couldn't have asked for any better, really.
Yeah, it's great to get to listen to the tracks as well. Like Keys, we absolutely loved Keys, our first single, but Glory People's where we really wanted to start pushing things, because it's one of our favourites. It's been out for when we were writing about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, a long time.
Long before I joined.
So, well, I agree definitely with what you've said so far about the reaction. I think it's been pretty incredible, to be fair, and I think that's great to see. And obviously, as you say, Keys to the Kingdom is obviously a great song, but it's just nice to see that it's, how can I put this without this sounding bad, really? But it's like another step up, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
not saying that Keys was rubbish or anything, but it's good to see the band continuing to develop. If that, hopefully that's come across okay.
Yeah, we kind of feel now off the back of Keys to the Kingdom, and then we've released this song now. It's sort of like we're starting to build that momentum, and sort of like this is what we're about. This is this is the one. This is that song. This is this song, and sort of kind of like showing where we want to go. Obviously the sound that we've got when we go into our second album, which is we've written loads of songs already anyway. you know, we want to keep progressing the sound and just keep getting better as a band, and you know, and what we are putting out there.
Yeah, sure. So probably this is quite a prize to sort of not just Glory People, but for the other songs as well that you've released to date so far. So what's like the writing process like? Do you all contribute like at the very beginning, or does someone just go, right, I've written this song, this is how it's going to sound? How does it work?
Well, for this album and the songs in this album, it was pretty much I write the song on an acoustic guitar, and then take it into practice, and then Chris would do some crazy stuff on the drums and make it sound great.
And we got the structures up from there.
Yeah, and then, you know, Ben he comes in with his lead parts, and then obviously we've got Sten now who's coming in with a different groove to what we've had in the past. So when we went into the studio to record Glory People, we thought it was going to sound a certain way, and then because Sten he's pretty much new to the band as we went into the studio, the song ended up, you know, changing quite a bit to like the original demo and the original recording we've done.
I'm bringing Asher as well.
Yeah, so
it's the same process with Love Burns. We look how much that changed compared to what we first had.
Yeah.
Do you quite like enjoy being able to sort of make the changes, or does that upset you, Craig, at all anyway, that you had this idea and someone come along with a completely different solo or drum beat or whatever? And how do you two feel about that as well?
I think it's more of we trust each other enough so that you know, Craig will come in and he'll say, this is my idea for a song, and he just leaves up the rest of us. He trusts us enough to think, you know, this is a drum beat I want to put on a song, I'll do it, be like it. Aaron will lock in with me, and then Ben gets to do his solo stuff all the top.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think sometimes you write the song and then you think, right, this is how it's going to go, this is how it's going to sound, I've got it in my head, and then you take it into practice, and then
that's free,
you know, they'll do something different. And it sort of like changes into something completely different to what it was originally. Like we were writing one song, like Sten just said, then Love Burns is on the album, and it sounds like 100% different to what we went into the studio to record to what it actually come out as. So sometimes I'm definitely a little bit pressure sometimes, but overall, like Chris said, you know, we've got you know, trust and respect in each other, that, you know, we try to make the song as good as possible. So, you know, we're all on the same page.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So obviously Glory People was recorded at King's Road studio, wasn't it? Where obviously you've mentioned your forthcoming album, Embrace the Chaos, most of that was recorded there as well, I believe. So can you you've kind of touched on it a little bit there, but what was the recording process like for Glory People, and obviously for Keys and Love Burns that you've just mentioned as well, and specifically on Glory People, how did Asher Jane end up on the track?
Absolute chaos, sorry. Yeah. We just kind of rolled it out.
Okay, so going in with the idea, we'd start like laying it down, and then one minute either Sanders, the engineer, or one of us would go, shall we try something like this? Do it. It'd be a completely different
I've got
song.
an idea.
I think Sanders should take a lot of credit. I mean,
he did change a lot.
The best out of us. He gave us a couple of his own ideas. You know, he's a pretty seasoned bloke in that respect, and he just helped us really craft a song into something we're really happy with.
Yeah,
he did suggest Asher as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think with Asher, we sort of like recorded the song, and in my head, I've been obviously, as you go into the studio, just listening to the songs, making sure you know the songs inside out, and I just in my head, I could just hear like a female backing voice on over the final chorus, and then, you know, you think back to like what kind of songs have got that. And the one that sprung up was Rolling Stones' "Give Me Shelter," and then I just felt that if we had a soulful, strong voice over the top of my vocals, then I would sound like really good. So Sanders, our producer, who had recently worked with her and another artist on something else, he said. So I said the idea to him. He then said, I know someone who would probably fit that bill, who would probably come down and help us out. So I give her a ring, she come down. The first couple of minutes, she started singing. And then within about half an hour, me and Sam just looking at each other in awe, thinking,
Smashed it.
you know, wow.
Did a brilliant job.
Yeah, well, echo that totally, Sten. It has. It sounds fantastic, and especially sort of round about that the middle, sort of the track where it's almost where you're Craig, where you're almost chanting with the vocal, and as you say, that soulful voice just comes in, sort of like a hint, if that makes sense as well. It's not too overpowering, but it's there type thing, you know.
Like a build up.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we thought
definitely.
about, you know, putting it from the start and like maybe like making more of the fact that she's got a fantastic voice. So, you know, do we make a little bit more of it? But then we just, you know, we decided on the fact that last bit, once that drops down in that middle bit, before it comes back to that, you know, that last final chorus, that's where she should come in and just, you know, it takes that song just up a notch, you know, just to finish it off.
Yeah, sure. So obviously where we've been in like the lockdown stuff, now that we've sort of, obviously I know in Wales, obviously I saw, we've mentioned earlier on with the Stereophonics, they've had to cancel postpone a couple of the gigs, which I will always call the Millennium Stadium, not the Prince of Us. And it's easy for me to say. So have you guys been able to do any gigs like at all, like in the last, I don't know, sort of 6 months or so, or?
Yeah, we've done one gig.
Right. Oh, okay. Right.
It was a, you know, a very small venue. You know, we packed it out. It was a really good night. It was a really good gig. But I said, like, you do a gig, you want to do another gig, you want to do another gig. But
I still think it's pretty slow going as well, because you've got a lot of bands who booked in last year. You know, the venues,
backlog.
Yeah, but a lot of backlog. You know,
sure.
The venues are still coming to them. So it's kind of wading through that at the moment. I think next year everyone will be on better footing.
So as a band, do you then prefer being in the studio, like, and hearing, you know, how you were saying before about someone might come up with a different idea for you know, a guitar solo or like the drums, or do you actually prefer being you know, playing live? What is there a preference within the band? Would you say that you're more of a live band, or would you say that you're like a studio band? What would you?
Definitely live.
I'm stuck. It's half and half. I love the being on stage, but it's nice just being and going, hang on, let's change this. Hang on, let's do that. And then if we have a bad run, we haven't got to worry about sounding bad to everybody else.
It's supposed to be a creative process, but it's nice to let loose and live.
Yeah.
I think like when we recorded the album, we did like half the album during like a lockdown reprieve, and then we didn't do like the second half until like about a year later. So I think when I first went in, like me personally, I was like quite green about being in a recording studio. Like Chris and Sten have had, you know, experience in the past. But when I went in, I loved it, loved being in the studio, loved making the changes and like, oh, I've got an idea, why don't we try this and we try that. So by the time we went back in, probably like 9-10 months later, I think like as a band, we kind of knew what we wanted, we knew what we were doing, and the producer we used, we got to know him quite well. I think that in a way, the fact that we couldn't do every song back to back to back, and we had to have that gap in between, I think it makes the album that much better, and it makes the songs, that much better as well.
It's always like you can hear the progression in our own journey in the space of that year, with lockdown, and I think a bit of angst as well, being locked away for a year, and both times in the studio it was like 30-degree heat both times. So it was
very
constant pressure and all sweaty. So
So
have you don't wear hairspray to the studio because it'll just run straight off. Never doing that again.
I'll take your word for that. So obviously you've just said that you recorded one half of it like last year, and now sort of the other half in the summer. So you said that you was a little bit green before, but you feel now that you sound a little bit, sort of sound better compared to this time last year. So have you gone back and re-recorded any of the songs, or are you just like, no, that's what we've got, that's what we're going with? Yeah,
we just stuck with what we got. We recorded Glory People.
Before the sun, wasn't it?
We recorded that in the practice room. So we recorded that probably about 2 years ago, like December 2019.
Demo.
Yeah, so we recorded that just in the studio with, you know, a couple of mics. So it was always our plan to go back and record Glory People, because obviously we knew how good the song was, but we also knew how good it could be, especially having spent that time in the studio with the first couple of songs. When we were going back in, originally we weren't going to do it again, but then because we'd, you know, improved as, you know, being in the studio, you know, it had to be done again, and thankfully we did it again, and then that's how it's turned out. I
think I did push to get it re-recorded as well, didn't I? Because I felt it could have there was a lot more potential to it than what was originally recorded.
Yeah.
And my bass line makes it a completely different song. It wouldn't have fit with the original at all.
No.
Like Craig said, I'm everything he brings in, I'll put a bass to it, and he's like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't how it sounds. It's just a completely different song altogether.
Yeah.
I like to be all.
Yeah.
Sure. So obviously you guys, you've just signed a management deal with Moonman Music PR. So what's it been like so far, sort of having their backing with you?
Busy.
Yeah, like 100 miles.
It has been non-stop. To be fair to them, they are doing wonders for us.
Yeah, she's like Beck is taking on a management role as well as PR, and I think we were trying to do everything ourselves, trying to like promote ourselves and everything else that comes with that. So she's come in, and obviously she's got contacts, and she's putting us into different places and getting us on the radio. So I think, so, you know, we've only been with her for
For a month.
for a month. So so far it's going great, and she's got loads of ideas for us, and so yeah, it's all positives.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, it's good to hear, and obviously I can only imagine what it must be doing this, what it must be like trying to promote the new music or trying to book gigs as well. It must book your recording studio time as well. It must be quite nice actually to sort of not lose total control of a certain element, but just to sort of almost, you know, have someone else sort of being in charge.
It's a relief for that, especially for you.
Well, like I got onto her. You put me onto her when you know, we were chatting back and forth, and then you put me onto it. So I contacted her. You know, sent all the music and stuff through, and it's sort of like I can sit back and, you know, focus on other things rather than having to, you know, go searching for gigs, go searching for, you know, people to promote the music and write the reviews and all that sort of thing. So, you know, big thanks for you for putting us onto it, and, you know, so far it's working out really well.
Good, that's a relief. So obviously, as you guys know, here at This Is The Music, we've obviously been championing your music since the very beginning, which obviously included, as you very kindly mentioned earlier, us playing Keys to the Kingdom on our Rise of the Indie Artist show on Away Day Radio, which I understand was actually, which I find this mind-boggling personally, but I understand that was your first ever radio play. So what was the feeling like hearing your music on the radio for the first time? And what did you do to, I guess, to celebrate, I suppose? I don't know.
It's surreal, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, it was like, it's like that Christmas morning feeling when you're a kid, and then you're like, well, what's going on? Look at all these presents.
I think the first thing I said was, we better buy Craig a bigger hat because it's not going to fit anymore.
Yeah, but it was like, I sent the link to you know, all my friends, all my families, like get on that and make sure you listen to that. And then yeah, as soon as it comes on, and then, you know, when you hear other people talk about your music, obviously we are confident in the music we make, and when you hear other people saying good stuff about your music as well, I think it's when you can hear it, rather than just like reading it on the screen or reading it, when you hear people talking about it, I think I made a big impact in it, and I definitely had a beer to celebrate.
And what about you two, Chris, Steve? What was your approach?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's so nice to hear somebody talking about your music. Like, it's like Craig says, everyone can, you know, take the odd review here and everything, and it's great. Like, you know, some of the ones we've had done are really, really nice, but to hear it with your own ears, and, you know, someone really hear the passion in their voice of how much they like that song. It just means the world. Like,
Sure, and obviously, because you've also, have I got this right? You've also been played in Australia as well, haven't you? Now, so I mean, when the band started, I mean, did you ever imagine that you'd be like being beamed all around the world type thing?
Well,
it's nice to be played in South Wales and New South Wales. I suppose.
Wales.
Oh, sorry, I thought the connection there momentarily went down, so I didn't hear the last bit of that.
Blame the Welsh weather.
Yeah.
So, Embrace the Chaos is obviously your title of your debut album, and I believe it's going to be out sort of March 2022. So, for people that maybe haven't heard you before or just getting into the band, what can they expect?
Well, most of the songs are, fast, direct, rock and roll. There's quite a bit of punkiness in there.
Bit funky on some parts as well.
Yeah, I think, like I said, because when we went back in that second time, we had a bit more of an understanding of, how to use a studio rather than going in and think, right, we're gonna record it like this, and that's how it's going to sound. I think it's a bit more adventurous than the first couple of songs. Like the first song we recorded was Fall Into the Sun, and that's just a straightforward
bang bang.
Loud guitars, loud drums. But as we like developed into the studio time, I think
you got a couple of soft ones on it as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of nice acoustic ones on there that are a bit more emotional and a bit more heartfelt. So I think it's a
good mix for everyone.
Yeah, it's a bit for everyone. So you might like the song in the mark, and then you could have your missus think, I like this one as well. So you got to chuck a couple on for the girls, So
definitely, yeah. So, which sort of bands or maybe artists have influenced you the most? Would you say, like, for all three of you?
Anything from like Nirvana, my first big thing growing up, and then all the way through stuff like Stone Roses, things like that. Anything with a good groove, being a drummer, I like the feel of the song, the pulse of the song. Anything with a good beat, I love.
Yeah.
Hold up a sign saying your influence, Craig.
Like you listen to any of the songs I write, this Britpop and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, being a teenager in the 90s, you couldn't escape that music, and anything that had drums and guitars, I was into. And later stuff, you just want songs that are positive and upbeat and happy. Like I love The Enemy when they were going. Obviously, they're coming back next year as well. So Kasabian, just songs that I went to watch Kasabian the other last month, I think it was, in Cardiff Uni, and it's just they're almost like a dance band as well, aren't they? And they've got that, and they've got that the beat and the rhythm that goes through it. So as much as my influence is like Britpop and all that stuff, you also don't want to just be pigeonholed of like just thinking, I just want to sound like that. But you want to like sort of like move with the times and sort of find your own way. Like what the band, The Music, they were a big band for me, because they were like quite similar to Kasabian in where they had fast upbeat drums, sort of like dance tracks really, but with a bit of rock and roll. So I think as we progress as a band, I think that's probably a route that maybe we'd like to explore a bit more, rather than just sticking to what we've done with guitars and drums and just
more electronic art.
And just see how it develops.
And Steve, you just mentioned there that one of the songs has got a bit of a funk vibe on it. Is that influenced you personally, or?
Well, I come into the whole rock music thing sort of late. I grew up typical 90s teenager, Steps, S Club 7, ABBA and all that nonsense. So I only really found rock music shortly after my mum passed. I mean, she was a massive Elvis fan, but back then, this is old music, I don't like this, put S Club 7 on. So I started with Guns N' Roses. That's what his haircut's all about. You want to look like Pete? I started with Guns N' Roses, and
you love Green Day as well, back in the day.
It's just sort of gone from there. Most of my influence comes from I think it's like a bit of Duff from Guns N' Roses, a bit of Green Day, Muse, the Fratellis, very early Phonics, all the Stuart Cable era type stuff.
Yeah.
The funk, but I wouldn't really know where the funk side comes from. Probably a mix of Muse and the Zootons. I take bits of everything and just mould it into my own.
Yeah. I think the best thing we've all got, you know, with Ben as well, we've all got, you know, quite a wide range of influences. So I might be coming in with a Britpop slant, and then thinking, oh, it's going to sound like that, and then, you know, we'll do a drum beat and think, well, that doesn't sound like that, and then he'll come in with his space. So you might be coming in one avenue, and then it completely changes. So I think, well, we hope that comes through in the album and all the songs we recorded on it.
I think it does.
Yeah, well, certainly from what I've heard so far, you can sort of hear all them influences that you've just mentioned there. So, is from them bands that you've mentioned, is there any particular album that maybe influenced you, either personally growing up, and preferably not S Club 7?
Oh, that's me out of the interview.
I think, like, can you remember? Was it the Britannia Music Club? Remember that, when you used to like send you like leaflets, and then you'd fill it in, send it off. I can remember my brother was always into like crazy dance music, and then this leaflet came to my door one day, and I was looking through it. So my next door neighbour had obviously Morning Glory when it came out in 95.
Yeah. So
I was looking through, and then I seen another Oasis album, Definitely Maybe, and I thought, well, I've never even heard of this. So then I got that. I didn't pay for it. I sent it off. It got sent to my house. My parents then had to pay for it, or they'd have to spend even more money than what the album cost. And then I got the Bends from
Radiohead, yeah.
Radiohead.
Yeah.
So I used that Britannia Music Club to fleece my parents out of lots of money to buy all these albums. And then, so from there, my brother was like into dance. I thought, right, I can't listen to that crap. I need to, I need to start listening to pop music. And then from there, then you just, you think, oh, right, what does this sound like? And, you sort of like start listening to other stuff. And
I think like for me, I was, Hybrid Theory came out about 2000, Ben in the Park, and me and my mates were obsessed with the album. But I begged my mother to go down Ponty Market and get me a Linkin Park hoodie to wear, like, want to be a bit of a mosh or whatever. And she come back with a Nirvana hoodie, and I was like, who's Nirvana? And my dad bought me Nevermind. And as soon as the drums kicked in for Teen Spirit, that was it to me.
Yeah. Well, that's understandable.
My one's a very weird one. Probably Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age. Because you've got, I'd say it's sort of when Nick Oliveri started going off the rails with his habits we won't discuss. But it's a lot of like half of his bass lines, half of them are very plain and simple. Then you go into a song like quick and to the point. He's screaming down the mic with doing the vocals, and the bass is just going proper dun, 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 punky bass. So it's like a mix of everything on that album. And I try to play everything to make it a mix rather than just one set genre for the whole thing. Like,
yeah, sure. Each of them influences there, and the albums are certainly impacted on me personally, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that are listening to this will have fairly similar stories and albums that they've listened to as well. So obviously live music is finally re-emerging, which is great, although it doesn't sound too great for you guys at the minute down in Wales, obviously we touched on earlier. But are there any like particular venues that you'd like to play, either like the small sort of like sweaty club, or like the big arenas or stadiums or anything like that, or even a festival?
Do we really want to say the Millennium Stadium? Was that a bit too big for us? The album's perfect for the size though. Anthem size rock, stadium size.
Yeah, I think like initially in Cardiff there's a couple of good clubs in Cardiff, like Club Eva Bach and the Moon Club,
Live Lounge.
So there's some decent venues in Cardiff that that we want to play first. But like you said, like Sten said, you've got to aim big, and you've got to have that ambition to want to be the best. So
anywhere that gets us. Everyone really just wants to come along and watch you and just get into it. I said, we'll play anywhere. Like.
And buy you a pint.
Hey, I absolutely love that answer, especially there, Chris. If people are going to come, we'll play anywhere. You're not bothered. And I think as has been said, the songs they would easily fill out stadiums, arenas. In my opinion, you've definitely got the sound there to sort of do it. So, what can fans expect from you guys in 2022?
3 paracetamol for every gig we play. There'll be a lot of headaches in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, we're all hoping that it's going to be, really busy. Obviously it started off well with Beck and Moonman Music PR. So, she's got us on the right road of, where we need to be, we need to be in contact with and all that sort of thing. I think obviously the album's going to be released probably in March. And then
a couple of tour dates.
A couple of tour dates, and and then like we said earlier on, that we've already got quite a few songs that we've recorded. So definitely at some point next year going back into the studio and
even if it's just a couple of singles at the minute.
Yeah.
So if you were to form a super group of artists from the past or even present, who would you pick? And we'll limit it to 4 people in the band so that it mirrors yourselves.
Oh, here we go.
I'm definitely going to say for Ben.
Johnny
Marr. Johnny Marr. He's been banging to the Smiths the last couple of weeks. He likes to have a little beverage and listen to the Smiths the last couple of weeks. So so he wouldn't be a bad guitarist.
Yeah, not a bad lead guitarist.
Not bad.
I think I'd definitely put Rennie on the drums.
Yeah.
I
think he's quite underrated, actually.
Massively so, I think. Yeah, he's got that lovely dance and his groove is just incredible.
Yeah, agreed.
Will I think of someone?
Right, I'd say I've just been earlier on today. I watched the first part of the Beatles documentary on Disney Channel.
Yeah.
So I'd say John Lennon's voice. I think you don't realise how good of a rock and roll voice that he's got. So I think I chuck him up front.
Yeah.
He's obviously the Beatles are great, but I don't know if you've watched any of that.
Not yet.
You don't realise how good of a voice and how good of a rock and roll voice he's got. So he'd be my pick for the front man.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to chuck Barry Fratelli from the Fratellis. A lot of punky stuff, a lot of jazzy type runs, but also quick and straight to the point. And he's a backing vocalist, so that's sorted.
Love that answer. So, obviously, a couple of weeks away from Christmas, would you guys ever consider releasing a cover of a Christmas song?
Oh,
no,
yes, you answer.
You love Christmas.
I can tell you now, right? I've already done one. I have got 5 Christmas songs ready to go. So
okay.
Oh, I was just doing the acoustic.
So these 2 obviously don't want no money because they are going to be multi-million sellers. And I heard, what's his name? Ed Sheeran and Elton John's Christmas song this morning. And it's absolutely dire. They've just put "This Is Christmas" or "Christmas Time" at the end. So I've got 5 Christmas songs, and they are all absolute whirlies.
And I'm not putting my name on any of them.
Okay, so there you go. So you've heard it here first. Maybe this time next year we'll be sitting back down and we'll be chatting about your first Christmas
album. I'm not even ashamed of it either. I absolutely love it.
We're gonna go step in the car.
But I last year I put a post out saying all the big top artists have released Christmas songs. So Paul McCartney has, John Lennon has, George Michael, everyone basically. So, and they all make some decent money out of it. So it's they'll be skint, and I'll have loads of money. So.
Brilliant, love it. I'm just loving your reaction as well to this, just shaking your head in sort of like disappointment.
I want nothing to do with this. I'm not playing Jingle Bells.
Well, maybe you'll have to put an advert in for one song only. We need bass player needed.
I'm gonna have to go solo for my Christmas album.
Yeah. Ben might be here this time. Maybe he'll do a review.
Yeah.
Ben will be here next time we see Mark.
There we go. Lovely. So, lads, unfortunately, that is the end of the podcast. It's great finally to actually put some faces to each individual name, rather than us just chatting over Instagram, Twitter, etc. And thank you. And it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good laugh. And all I can really say is I wish you all the best of the luck in the world. As I do truly believe that you've got what you need to get out of the sort of the small venues, the beginning process to play around the country and hopefully further afield as well. So yeah, fingers crossed for you guys, and obviously good luck with the continued success of the new single Glory People, and obviously the album, and hopefully we'll get you back on when that comes out as well. So just before you do go, can you tell the listeners what socials you are on and where they can find you?
Yeah, so we're on Twitter and Facebook, and it's at Songs of Columbia, and then we're on Instagram as Columbia with a dot after the U before the M, and then our website is Songs of Columbia as well. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone who is tuned in to the latest This Is The Music Meets podcast. Please hit that subscribe button to get more alerts about forthcoming podcasts, as well as following us across our social media platforms. Chris, Craig, Stain, thanks very much, guys. And as I say, I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, man. Cheers, mate.